Hey guys, this is Alexis from Lex At Home. Thanks for joining me here today. We're going to be talking about my garage workbench project and really seeing how I took it from drawing and it being a concept and bringing it all the way to an actual workbench in my garage. The first thing I want to talk about is why I do my drawings on SketchUp and not on paper. And this is pretty simple. I cannot draw to save my life. I really can't. If you hand me graph paper and a pencil, it's going to look like a 3-year-old did it. In fact, I'm sure there are some preschoolers who can draw better than me. So, because I have some computer skills, I decided to teach myself SketchUp as my visualization software or CAD software in order to bring my projects to life. I actually learned by watching this one YouTube video where I had to build this table, and it made me so comfortable with all the keyboard shortcuts and how SketchUp works. I'll go ahead and link that in the description, but for now, just know that I use SketchUp, and so if I'm ever doing a drawing review, it's probably going to be SketchUp. Okay. The other thing is that SketchUp is free. Love that. There are paid versions. I'm not a professional, so I just use the free version on my computer, and it's worked beautifully for me and has done everything that I needed to do. So let's jump into the garage workbench. This is the entire table and what it looks like. And I also love that you can look at your designs from all angles, see everything, make sure it all makes sense. Okay, it's amazing. So this is what we're working with here today. This is the kind of the end point that I got to, but I'm going to take you back from the beginning. All right, let me turn off boom and this. Awesome. So the first thing that I did in building this table was I watched a ton of YouTube videos. Of course, woodworking is a new hobby for me, so I'm kind of down a rabbit hole of all of the YouTube videos of woodworking, and it's been really great, but it's also given me a lot of ideas. And yes, do these people have plans that I could buy? Absolutely. Or I could spend endless hours creating it myself. It's just what I'm going to do. So to the best of my ability, of course. And the other thing is too, that you can make anything to your exact measurements of your room. And so you're able to build something that fits exactly what you're looking for. Love that. All right. So for the legs, I knew based on this YouTube video I watched that I wanted to use 2x4s because they would just be easier to work with instead of working with 4x4s. And so I drew them in SketchUp and I put them together. You'll notice these little black marks here. I was marking for myself where I was going to drill my screws through, just so that when I started building, I would make sure that I orient the legs in the proper fashion, which worked out really well. And you can see that in the video that of my build process. The other thing that I made sure I did was that I built this to scale. And so these legs are 38 inches tall, as you can see from this bottom corner here. They are 38 inches tall. So I was able to actually see and imagine and get a good feel for what this would look like in reality. The next thing I did was I built the top. So let's add the top back in. By the way, love tags. You're able to turn things on and off so you can kind of see your design from all angles. Love that for us. Okay, so I built the tabletop. I added, one thing to note is that the short pieces are sitting on the outside of the long pieces of the side. And then I also added a plywood top. I put this as 3/4 inch because that's the size plywood I would want to use in this scenario. You'll also notice that I added support braces underneath. And so I was able to make sure that I put those in there because, I don't want my table falling through as I'm building stuff. That would be terrible. And again, really love that I could just hit T on my keyboard and measure the exact length of the pieces that I needed to cut. And what was super cool is that I actually used this program as I was building the workbench. So I had my laptop out there with me and I would reference this to make sure that I was cutting all my pieces to size. The next thing that we are going to talk about is the bottom, of course. The bottom shelf. What a doozy. And the reason it was a doozy is because you'll notice that the bottom sits inset while the top sits on the outside. So I just made sure that I did that. And of course, I could turn off the legs if I wanted to make sure I made my bottom to the proper dimensions, which I did. 78 inches. Yeah, buddy. So, and of course I added a tabletop on there as well. And then I'll add back in the legs here. Now there's one thing I want to call out. As I was designing this table, I actually noodled on it for quite some time. It took probably over 2 or 3 days. And I ended up changing the design. Originally, I had the table being built at 33 inches high. And because I was planning to have 5-inch casters underneath. But based on my experience with casters before, even when you lock the casters and you're doing something that requires a lot of force, like using heavy machinery, like a power tool, the table still has movement. And I did not want to do that or deal with it at all. So what I did instead was I decided that I'm going to do side mount casters, and I extended the legs by 5 inches. Alexis, what is a side mount caster? Don't worry. A side mount caster kind of looks like this. It goes on the side, and you're able to pop the legs down when you need to move the workbench, and then pop them back up when you don't need to move the workbench. And also the piece sits on its actual legs instead of sitting on the casters. So as you're using tools and doing work, your workbench should not be moving. Love that for us. So I was able to make that modification super easily within SketchUp by just extending the leg pieces downward. And because I built this in a very specific way, as I extend the legs on this right leg, all of the legs extend. Don't we love that? Yes. Now, the last piece of this workbench is the inside. Let's see, drawers. So the inside, I was honestly not sure what I wanted to do with the inside. I just knew that I wanted storage. That was very important to me. So here's a couple of things that I added to the workbench to do that. First, I added these side panels here. And I did that because I needed support for the shelves that were going to be in the middle of the workbench. But what that allowed me to do when I'm thinking about adding is maybe a 2x4 piece here so that I can have storage for my clamps, which I'm very excited about. If I'm not mistaken, the length between here and here is like 25 inches. My clamps are like 12 inches or something like that I have right now. So I would be able to just tuck them in here and have them held by a piece of 2x4, which is great. So that's on both sides. And I kind of like how it looks. I also imagine that it's going to help with keeping the dust out of the middle section if dust or sawdust is blowing on the sides. So that's really great. Over here on the left side of the workbench, I want to add a set of drawers that will pull out, and I can use them to store screws and small parts. I didn't bother building those because it's really a stretch project, I think, for me. And so I just left it open right now, but imagine that you have a set of drawers right here to pull out and put all your small parts. It's going to be amazing. Very excited. Now, the only issue that I'm working through right now is that the drawers are 20 inches deep. And so I'm going to have, and this is, I think, like maybe 30 inches. So I'll have 10 inches of space back here that might be dead space. And you know what? I might just live with that and be okay. Because this workbench is going to be pushed against the wall. And then as I need it, I'll pull it out from the wall and put it in the middle of the garage. So honestly, it might be okay that the back part has a little bit of dead space. I'm not going to cry about it right now. I'll probably find something to put there. But for right now, this is what we're working with. And that's okay. On the right side, there's a metal support and a shelf that's intentionally put there as a place to kind of declutter the top of the workbench. So imagine I'm working with my drills and my saws and a bunch of other stuff. I can just take it off the top and put it on the shelf and let it have some storage down there, as well as any other taller items like glue bottles, or I don't know, who knows what I'm going to run into. This is also new, but this is how I'm building it. I also plan on using adjustable shelves here. So I'll drill some shelf pin holes so that I can move this middle support and not just let it be fully inset into the workbench. Okay, I think that's everything. I can probably do a more detailed video at some other point, but I think that's really all you need to know right now, which is great. I use SketchUp. It's amazing. Love it so much. And the next video that you should watch is me building it because it was very fun. And I hope that you'll get inspired to build too. Okay, I'm out of here. Thank you.